Hello, my name is Marla Knight Dewtell, and I want to tell you about my Try Anything Rhino project. This all started because I was fortunate enough to be able to go on a trip to South Africa this past August. And while I was there, I got to go to Kruger National Park and Addo National Park. And I spent a week in Kruger, and all I can say is that it absolutely changed me. All these animals that I dreamed about and seen my whole life, to actually get to see them in the wild, not in a zoo, not in pictures, not on TV. It was absolutely something indescribable. And we were fortunate enough to be able to go out on a walking tour with rangers because we booked a year in advance. We were so excited for this trip. We planned years in advance. And so because we did that, we were a group that were able to go out with rangers and be out on foot in the bush. And when we did that, we actually came across a group of 5 rhino, and 5 white rhino, and we were out there standing, hiding behind bushes, and watching these unbelievable creatures, and I was completely moved by them. Meanwhile, I'm finding out about the poaching epidemic. Somehow, even though I'm an animal lover, an animal advocate, and consider myself to be very involved in issues like this, I don't know how, but somehow I didn't know about the rhino poaching epidemic. Well, I learned about it while we were there. So we're there in Kruger, and I'm seeing these rhino. We didn't just see them on foot that day. We saw them in our cars. They'd crossed over in front of our van, and it was an absolutely indescribable experience. And then on one of our last days when we were there, we saw a very unusual scene off in the distance, and we had our binoculars, and there were 2 rhino that were acting rather nervous and running around, and one rhino was laying down. And we thought it was very, very odd that this rhino was laying down, and there were all these, probably 100 vultures right next to the rhino. And we sat and we watched, and we had our binoculars, and we sat and we watched, and the rhino didn't move. So we went back and we reported it at the ranger station, and we don't know what happened, but we know that everybody jumped into fast gear and ran out and did something. We don't know if we saw a poached rhino. I feel like we probably did, and it was one of those things where it affected me greatly, and it still affects me greatly to this day. So after the trip, I came home, and all I could think about is rhinos and their plight, and that nobody knows, and they're being poached to extinction, and the horrible way that it's done, and it's so grotesque, and often it's done with tranquilizer guns, and their faces are destroyed while they're still alive, and they bleed out, and it haunted me. So I thought about it, and I worried about it, and I didn't do anything. And I thought about it, and I worried about it, and I didn't do anything. And I thought, I want to do something, but I'm half a world away. What can I possibly do? So fast forward a couple months, and we have some family over. And it's my sister-in-law and her husband and her 20-year-old daughter. And my sister-in-law was having some kind of problem. So she started describing the problem that she had. And I said, well, have you tried this? And she said, no. And then her husband said, well, have you tried that? And she said, no. And then my husband said, well, have you tried the other? And she said, no. And her exasperated 20-year-old daughter raised up her hands and said, Mom, just try anything. Just try anything. And it hit me right then what I needed to do about the rhinos. I needed to just try anything. And so from that moment forward, my head's been flooded with ideas, and so much has happened, and I'm really excited to share it with you and hope that you'll be able to fund my project. So in the time since I had the brainstorm, I launched Try Anything Rhino Project the end of November, beginning of December. Since that time, I've gotten original art approved for our project, donated to our project, and so we made t-shirts, sold t-shirts. I did a presentation to my church, and they were so moved by the presentation and excited about it that they've made it a creation care ministry at my church. And what that means is they're going to do all the accounting, all the bookkeeping will be transparent, all the money's flowing through my church, so I don't have to deal with any of that. and people can make tax-deductible donations. And so that has worked really great. And so when I first thought that I wanted to do something, I thought, well, maybe if I get something going by the end of 2014, then maybe in 2015, maybe I can raise $1,000 and feel like I did something. Well, in the last month, in the month of December, which was really the only month that it was launched in 2014, just from people hearing about it and the sale of these t-shirts, we raised $1,500. And people were just shocked, like me, that they didn't know about what was going on with rhinos. And they wanted to know, what else can we do? How can we help? What can we do? So from there, I thought, you know what? We need to launch an Etsy store. We need to create crafts like these things that you see here. We need to create things that are going to be created by volunteers and sold so that we can continue to have an ongoing funding source, because I understand that I'm not going to do very well by going around and just begging people for money. I don't want to do that. I got started that way, but that part, now we need to move forward into phase 2. So I've got people in 4 states now making all sorts of different things for an Etsy store that we're going to launch in April. And so we've got several of these wonderful, incredible hand crocheted rhinos, which little kids are going absolutely crazy over. We're going to have stuffed animals like these. We understand that not everybody wants rhino things, so we're going to have things like these bowl covers, and this is great because it cuts down on plastic wrap and stuff like that. We're going to have jewelry. We're going to have bracelets like this with little rhino charms, little necklaces, little tiny necklaces like these with little itty bitty rhino charms, which I actually got this in South Africa, and people have asked me about it like crazy. Well, fortunately, I happen to have a brother-in-law that's a jeweler, and he is actually making us this prototype, something very, very similar, but his original design. And so we're going to have those coming to us very, very soon in sterling silver. And then we've got our tags, so that everything is tagged so that anytime anybody buys a gift, they're going to know what the proceeds are going towards. We've got little tags here to sew into all our different sewn items, and so people will be able to find us on Facebook and know who we are. And this is just a sampling. There's somebody that I don't even know that's making some wire art. There are people that are doing paintings. We've already had 2 paintings done for us. People are doing sketches. We're going to be doing some upcycled things like creating some handbags out of old discarded clothing. We're going to be making aprons out of discarded Oxford shirts, button-down shirts, just so many things. A lot of people are excited about the Try Anything Rhino project. There are a lot of people who are making things. When I added up everybody that's helping in some way to do something with this, we've got about 30 people that are helping to create different artisan crafts, paintings for this project. I've got a lot of people that say that they can't wait to shop. They may not be able to make anything, but they're planning on buying birthday presents, Christmas presents. Everybody said that this is where they're going to come for their baby shower presents. So I really feel like this is something that's an ongoing way to raise money for rhino and to have a lot of people personally involved and personally invested. So here's what I would like from the Pollination Project. The $1,000 that I'm hoping that you will donate to this project, my plan is for that money to live in perpetuity so that it is there as a funding source for our materials. As I said, nobody's getting paid anything. Everything is 100% volunteer done. All the work is done by volunteers. No one's getting paid for anything. But I don't expect people to go out of pocket. My brother-in-law is the jeweler who is designing our little rhino pendant, and we're ordering a bunch of them. They're sterling silver. We're ordering a bunch of them because we know that a lot of people have said that they want them. We essentially have an order list. Well, that's great, but it's expensive when you order 30, 40, 50 of them. So things like that, So far, all our yarn and things here have been donated, but there are just certain things that you have to buy. And for us to really do well and be able to really expand, we need that $1,000 to pull from. The plan will be as soon as things sell, then we'll put whatever the material cost is right back in that account. So there will always be that $1,000 that's continuing to go out and fund things. That will really speed this process up. Right now, I'm kind of floating some things, and my church is kind of floating some things, but it would be really great if we just had that $1,000 to pull from and then just always be able to pull from it. So I really hope that you'll consider funding this project. I'm really excited about it. There's a lot of people really excited about it. And I think we can do a lot of good. And I think with the personal investments with people in the project and the way they're continuing to spread the word, I actually genuinely believe that we can really make a difference. So thank you so much for your consideration of this project, and I hope that you'll fund us. Thank you.